How do you do? Jen and Cam feel it would be unkind to present this program without a friendly word of warning. We are about to unfold our true crime podcast, a podcast of lifelong friends who seek to examine crimes which were committed without reckoning upon God. The discussion will be frank, and the subject matter will be of a grim and violent nature. I think it will thrill you. It might even horrify you. So, if there are young children listening, or if you feel unwilling to subject your nerves to such a strain, now is your chance to, well, we've warned you.
Hi, Jen.
Hey, Cam. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Woohoo! I'm doing great, too. I can tell spring is in the air.
It is in the air. Makes me a little happy to be able to go outside and not freeze.
I
Not
know.
get windburned on the way to the car.
I can tell because I have my family of doves laying eggs in my wreath on the door.
Aww.
Yeah.
Aw.
It's always fun. Every year they come back, and my cats go crazy.
Well,
But that's how it's spring.
That's
The
right.
doves are back.
spring has sprung, so I hear
Spring-
you have a case for us.
I do. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Just after 3 p.m. on January 13th, 2010, a deputy driving through a gated community in Conyers, Georgia, noticed two distraught teenage girls running frantically towards his car. 16-year-old identical twins, Jasmiyah and Tasmiyah Whitehead, ran to his car and they started beating on the windows, beating on the car. And one of them told the deputy they had come home from school and found their mother brutally murdered inside their home. As Conyers police officers entered the house on Appaloosa Way, they could smell something metallic before they saw the trail of blood leading throughout the house. Blood was splattered all over the walls and throughout the living room. Lieutenant Chris Moon of Conyers Police Department said, quote, "It's the bloodiest scene I think I've ever been to." There were clear signs that there had been some sort of violent struggle. As officers walked past the toppled furniture and entered the master bathroom, they found a woman unresponsive in the tub. And I'm going to apologize for saying this name wrong, but 34-year-old Jasmiyah Whitehead had been brutally beaten and stabbed countless times. From now on, I will say the mother's name is Nikki, as that's what she was referred to.
What she went by.
Yes. The twins, who go by Jazz and Taz, were brought to the Conyers police station where they tearfully recounted what happened. The twins told police that their mother had been up until 3 a.m. drinking and kind of partying. The next morning, they had woken up late, and when they knocked on their mother's bedroom door that morning, it was locked and she didn't answer. So they made their own way to school on foot, just in time for their first hour. After school, they caught the bus home. After they got back to the house, Taz told the detectives that she had heard her sister scream, and then she saw blood all over the floor. Between crying and asking for their mommy, the girls described the scene in detail. Taz said, quote, "I looked and there was blood in the front of the door, like a line of blood, like someone had dragged her in there. You know, like it's lined up on TV."
That's
Jazz,
odd statement from a kid, but okay.
she's 16. It is odd. Jazz said that she went into her mother's bedroom after seeing blood all over the floor. When she went into the bathroom, she saw her mother in the tub, and she touched her. After being separated, the investigators noticed that both girls were wearing gloves. When they were told to remove them and show detectives their hands and arms, police saw that there were a number of cuts, scratches, and even a bite mark on one of the girls. The girls explained away the injuries as being caused by a fight between the two that happened a couple days before. Something the police knew was not an unusual occurrence where the Whitehead twins were concerned.
Or any siblings, for that matter. They fight.
That's kind of brutal. I mean, I fought with my brother. He was 6 years older, but he never bit me or scratched me. Mentally scarred me, yes, but physically scarred me, no. But everybody's different.
Okay.
Taz even said through her tears, quote, "I told her that I wish she were dead, and she really did die. I told her that plenty of times, and she never died." So the twins' mother, Nikki, was raised by her grandmother. Her mother wasn't really around. She had been in prison for drugs, possession of drugs. And so her mother really wasn't involved in her life at all. She actually was homeless for a couple years. She lived on the street. And at the young age of 17, Nikki gave birth to the twins. And let me just say the twins were surprised. She knew she was pregnant, but she didn't find out it was twins until she was actually giving birth to the second baby.
17 with twins?
17 with twins, and she was homeless. She was living on the streets. And the father of the babies wasn't in the picture. There's even, I heard that he was actually married. She didn't even know that he was married. But as soon as he found out she was pregnant, he pretty much left her.
Of course.
It was very difficult for Nikki to raise the girls alone. So they all moved in with Nikki's grandmother, Della Frazier, where the twins lived most of their life. Now, Della had custody of Jazz and Taz while Nikki tried to get her life together. She went back to school to be a hairstylist, and she did very well in this profession. And she also maintained a very active social life, leaving Della to do most of the parenting of the twins. The girls saw Della pretty much as their mother, and Nikki was more of like that older sister. And they didn't really see a lot of Nikki. Nikki was gone a lot. In 2000, Nikki met 55-year-old Richard Head. Now, Nikki, this man was more than twice her age. I think she was 23 when she met him. And the two dated off and on for around 7 years. And after 7 years, Richard asked Nikki to move to Conyers and live in the house with him. And Robert worked as a long-haul truck driver, so he was away a lot. And he loved Nikki and supported whatever decision she made for herself and for her girls. So in 2007, Nikki asked for custody of the girls, and she wanted them to come live with her and Robert in Conyers, Georgia. And
Nice.
The girls were kind of teens at the time. Now at school, and to most of the people, the girls seemed like well-adjusted teenagers. Nikki put them in sports, they played instruments, did ballet, they got good grades at school. Actually, someone on one of the shows I watched, someone actually expected them to go to Ivy League colleges because they were so smart and brilliant. But as teens, and they were good girls, young, but under their great-grandmother's roof, when they got older, they had been able to go out whenever they wanted. She was unable to stop them. They just had a rule. Whatever they wanted to do, Della let them do, it seemed. But that changed when the girls moved back to Nikki's house. Like all mothers, parents, Nikki wanted the girls to do better than she did. She didn't want the girls to get pregnant at a young age. She didn't want the girls to get involved in drugs. She wanted them to have great lives that were better than hers. That's what all parents want.
Of course.
At 14, the girls were seemingly going down the same path as their mother. They started hanging around boys that were much older than they were. And in an effort to curb their behavior, Nikki restricted their cell phone use and forbade them for seeing older boys. But that only made the girls rebel even more. Nikki actually went, I think one of the girls, I can't remember if it was Taz or Jazz, was at an older boy's house. And Nikki went to that boy's house, grabbed her daughter, took her, and was driving home. And the girl jumped out of the moving car.
Yikes.
Bad news. On June 28th, 2008, the police would be called to the house. The twins tried to attack their mother because she refused to let them do what they wanted. When Nikki told police that Jazz and Taz tried to attack her, the girls denied it. And the officer kind of knew something was up. She wasn't believing Jazz and Taz here. Within minutes of the officer leaving, Nikki had to call for help once again. The girls had jumped on her and beat her. And she had to run into her bedroom to lock the door because she was afraid of them. Finally, Nikki managed to get free and ran outside, where one of the officers, the one that was just thought something wasn't right, she never really did leave, stayed outside the house. When Nikki managed to get free, she ran outside, and that officer was there, heard her, and everything. Yeah, it was bad. After they attacked their mother, the girls were taken into custody and placed back into the care of their great-grandmother while they awaited juvenile court hearings for the assault. Makes you really like your kids now, doesn't it?
No, I was just thinking, they're underage. They're above 18.
They're 14. They're 14 here.
But I'm saying
14.
If they were 18, you could say, get out, but you can't because they're
not. No,
not.
You can't.
So what does one? And you have two of them? Ooh.
The twins claimed that their mother was abusive and She didn't seem to care about them. And Nikki told the court that they were uncontrollable. The girls and their mother had to attend counseling together, but the relationship remained strained. I would think so.
I would say so.
The counselor reported that all of the adults failed to control the twins and that the whole family thrived on chaos. Leaving the twins in the custody of their grandmother had swapped one situation for another, according to the counselor. Mm-hmm. Their 80-year-old great-grandmother couldn't stop them from running off and staying with their much older boyfriends when she asked for family services for help. After numerous court hearings, a judge granted Nikki full custody of the girls, and they moved back to Conyers on January 5th, 2010. Jazz and Taz.
Full custody.
It's kind of funny. In one of the interviews I was watching, there's a Dateline episode on this called Bad Blood. And it was a friend of Nikki's. She was interviewed and she said, Jazz was really so lovable and Taz was outgoing.
So does that mean? I don't know. What's that? What?
I think it sounds like Taz is the aggressor and Jazz just kind of
there you go. Yeah,
went along with everything. Jazz and Taz were not happy with the arrangement at all. And immediately after the hearing, a verbal argument erupted in the hallway. And Jazz screamed at her mother that if she had to live with her, she would kill her.
Oh, that was in the courthouse?
That was in the hallway of the courthouse, yes.
Somebody. Mm-hmm.
After it was done.
Mm-hmm.
They moved 20 miles from their great-grandmother's house into a house with rules. And from the minute they arrived, they caused trouble. The police were called a number of times in the week leading to Nikki's murder. Now we're going to go back to the investigation and the arrest and all this kind of stuff after they found Nikki. So the girls were released to their great-grandmother after the investigation continued. The twins went back to school while the forensic evidence from their murder was analyzed. Nikki had been stabbed over 50 times. The knife had pierced her lungs and her jugular vein, and one wound was so deep that it almost severed her spinal cord. And oddly enough, a human hair was found stuck in Nikki's teeth. I mean, she bit somebody.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah. The medical examiner said that Nikki was killed in a crime of passion, and it wasn't a random stranger who had murdered her. As forensic officers processed the scene inside the house, they found bloody clothes and shoes belonging to the twins in their bedrooms and in the washing machine. They tried to wash up after. Shoes belonged to the twins in their bedrooms and in the washing machine. There was also evidence that someone had tried to clean up blood on the carpet with bleach, and the sinks had been rinsed through. In a pair of blood-stained boots found hidden in a box, investigators found a clump of human hair that was wrapped in a tissue. That's...
I'm just thinking about killing your mother. I don't know. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
That was probably going to be their little souvenir of the whole thing. A clump of bloody hair and wrapped in a tissue? Why else would there be hair? A clump of human hair wrapped in a tissue in a box, hidden away.
Well, it's also what's going to seal their fate, but okay. Wow.
An impression was taken of Nikki Whitehead's teeth to compare to photographs of bite marks seen on the twins when they were questioned on the day of their mother's murder. Forensic odontology has been used in a number of criminal cases, although there are questions as to the accuracy of the science. In fact, Ted Bundy had an impression taken of his teeth, which was compared to a bite mark found on one of his victims. And I have heard that it's been kind of deemed as junk science. But
it has. There's a case in, I believe it's Washington, D.C. My students profiled the guy, and he was convicted on the bite marks, and it was I think he did 18 years in prison. I can't remember exactly what it was, but they were not. They were not. He was missing a tooth, but so was the
person,
the killer.
Did it? Yeah, yeah. It's like Ted Bundy's teeth matched the bite mark almost perfectly because he had kind of janky teeth. But other cases, it's not really like you said. It's pretty faulty.
Yeah.
Nikki's bite was confirmed as a match to those found on her daughters. Her blood was found on their clothes. Her hair was found hidden in their shoe, but they were identical twins, and lab analysis could now determine which of the twins' blood was found in different areas of the house.
They both had gloves on, though, correct? And they both had scratches on their
afterwards. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Both of them had scratches. One, actually, I think there was a vase that was found to be broken, and one of the girls had a cut that could have been from the vase on her finger.
Mm-hmm.
Identical twins have identical DNA profiles. Now, there have been advances in DNA profiling since 2010, and that allows for more accuracy in cases where twins are involved. But at the time of this crime, there was no way to really tell. Thank God for science. Yay, science!
I'm still thinking how you could hate somebody that badly at that age that you would kill them.
Or
Like,
just be so mad that you
Go out
don't
and
have your phone.
Get weed and get with your boyfriend who's 28? I don't think so.
When checking the twin story about the morning of the murder, police checked some CCTV tapes and found that not only had the twins lied about walking to school, they had actually hitched a ride to get there, but they also didn't get to school until shortly before 11 a.m.
Let's see, wouldn't they know that? You have to sign in at school.
You
Wouldn't you can't.
It would be easy to check.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that'd be so easy to check. As investigators built the case, they felt as though that they had enough to arrest Jazz and Taz for their mother's murder. And that's what they did on the very last day of the school year. Taz was arrested at home, while Jazz was arrested at her high school. Inside the patrol car, their conversation was recorded. They complained that the police were saying that they had bite marks on their arm and that they weren't going to go down for something that they did not do.
Yeah, stand strong, you two 16-year-olds. You tell them what's up.
Belligerent.
Yeah.
Tess told the officers to find a murder weapon with her fingerprints on it, seemingly unimpressed with the evidence that they had already had against her.
Challenge accepted, little girl.
Thank you. And before they were taken to separate jails, they berated the length of time it had taken the officers to come back to the car, saying, quote, "What the fuck are we waiting for? They're having fucking coffee and donuts and having a jolly time. They don't care." Yeah, I don't know if they know how serious everything was.
Maybe they just thought that
they just
could get away with it.
I guess.
Wow.
The twins were charged with murder and aggravated assault with a weapon, and the Rockdale County District Attorney's Office announced that they planned to try the twins as adults. At a press conference held after the arrest, Police Chief Gene Wilson said that trying them as adults, quote, "speaks of how violent this act was, how vicious the overall attack was." Chief Wilson said, quote, "It was a brutal murder. She was stabbed and beaten to death, and as far as the motive, I just don't know. Any murder is a terrible crime, but when you have family on family, I think that makes it worse, and especially when it's children and parents." The case went to a grand jury, and the death penalty was pretty much off the table due to the twins' age, or how old the twins were at the time the murder was committed. While they awaited the indictments, the twins were in juvenile detention centers in Gwinnett and Fulton on bonds of around $500,000, $500,000. After they were indicted by a grand jury, they entered not guilty pleas to the charges, and Jazz's defense attorney, Dwight Thomas, filed a motion that the grand jury did not represent the demographic of the twins' area and that Black people had been systematically excluded from jury service.
Nice.
As a 17th birthday gift, the twins were transferred from the youth detention centers to Rockdale County Jail. They were re-indicted the following year, and the trial was scheduled to begin on September 2011. But it wasn't until 2014 that the case finally came to some sort of end. In January 2014, Tasmiyah Whitehead appeared in court to plead guilty of voluntary manslaughter, possession of a knife in the commission of a crime, and falsifying a statement to the police.
No murder charge in there? Really?
Voluntary manslaughter.
That's not murder. It's different.
It's not murder, but it's probably the best they did. I don't understand what goes through. Maybe they knew that they could convict her on manslaughter charges and not first-degree murder.
I'm surprised one of the girls didn't rat out the other to testify, to beat
They're
them.
twins. They love each other. Twins have that weird bond that
but still,
us singles don't know.
You know what
anything
takes away
about.
that weird bond? Looking at prison time. See ya.
Good
luck.
For some. For others, no. Not if she's just as guilty.
Yeah, but then you still rat him out. It was her idea. I just did what she told me to.
District Attorney Richard Reed told the court the agreed facts of the case. He said that the twins' behavior changed when they reached high school. They no longer cared about their grades or after-school activities and instead began skipping class and hanging out with boys much older than them and using drugs. The relationship between the twins and their mother was further fraught when Nikki felt as though her grandmother was overstepping the boundaries and undermining her authority as their mother. After regaining custody of the twins after their great-grandmother reached her limit, Nikki had to call the police twice between January 5th and January 13th. 2 times in that short period of time.
Wow.
As part of her plea deal, Tasmiyah had confessed to the murder. According to her, her mother had been up late talking loudly to a secret boyfriend she'd kept hidden away from Robert, and the conversation kept the girls awake. The next morning, they went downstairs and Nikki was in the kitchen upset because they were late for school again and had missed the bus. The argument got heated to the point where Nikki apparently picked up a pot and threw it at Jasmiyah. After this, Nikki grabbed a knife, and following the struggle, the twins managed to get the knife from her and slashed at her, cutting her a number of times but not causing any fatal wounds. Nikki ran to get help, but her neighbor wasn't home, so she came back to the house where the attack continued.
Why would she come back to the house?
I felt maybe she didn't have anywhere to go. I don't know.
Go anywhere else. Run.
One story, this is on 3 different, there's Dateline, Bad Blood, there's a series called Evil Twins that the show was on, and then there's the Snapped. On one of the shows, I don't remember which one, said that one of the girls went outside and said, "Mom, look, we're really sorry. Just come back in. We'll stop." That kind of stuff. And Nikki believed him. But with everything that Nikki had gone through with these girls, I can't believe that she would believe that.
No, I don't believe that.
But we are not in that situation, thank goodness. And we don't know what really happened, so we can only speculate.
I'm not a runner, but I sure would have been running that day. Let me tell you.
The twins stabbed Nikki over 50 times before dragging her body to the bathtub, changing their clothes, wiping away the evidence that tied them to the crime, and making their way to school as if nothing had ever happened. Nikki's mother addressed the judge before he sentenced Taz. She said, quote, "I can't tell you the pain I experience every day and every night. It's unimaginable. Unfortunately, my grandchildren never learned right from wrong. That's why we're here. I am a broken mother. I am a broken grandmother. I ask you not to lose sight of what my daughter went through, and I ask for just a decision, a fair decision." Rockdale County Chief Supervisor Court Judge David Irwin, that's a long title,
Yep,
called the case a tragedy of epic proportions before sentencing Taz for 20 years of voluntary manslaughter, 5 years for falsifying a statement, and 5 years for possession of a knife. Taz had been in prison for 4 years at that point, so she was given credit for the time she'd already served. The following month, Jazz followed suit and entered a guilty plea to the same charges. Jazz had said in her confession that her mother had been biting her on the chest when Taz stabbed her with the knife. She said she tried to strangle her mother with the ribbon from a medal, but her mother fought back. Jazz said, quote, "So I think I was stunned. Then I picked up the knife and I think I stabbed her, but they wasn't cuts. They wasn't deep because I couldn't bring myself to do it." They carried Nikki by her hands and feet to the bathtub in the master bedroom. When Nikki succumbed to her injuries, Jazz said that they were in shock. She said, quote, "We couldn't believe what we did. We cried. We cried for a long time, and we argued a bit." After crying over their dead mother, who apparently told them with her dying breath that she hated them, the girls gathered the murder weapons and their mother's phone and purse and put them in a plastic bag to dispose of the evidence. Jazz said, quote, "I'm sorry and I miss her. It's not how y'all are supposed to make it seem. I didn't hate her, and Taz didn't hate her either. I guess it was just heat of the moment and the anger between all 3 of us." That's a lot of heat in the moment.
2 people, you'd think one of them would have the sense to say, "Wait, stop.
Stop.
Let's take a break. Let's think about this," but guess not.
After entering the guilty plea, Jazz spoke to the court and said, quote, "I just want to say I'm sorry this happened and all the pain that it caused my family, my sister, our friends, and most importantly, my mom. I'm sorry for everything and I take full responsibility for my actions. I want to thank y'all for the mercy and leniency in my sentencing. This is not where I want to be. I wanted to contribute. I'm sorry for everything. Before issuing the same sentence imposed on her twin, Judge Irwin said, quote, I don't think there's a person whose heart has not been broken. I know mine has and the family's has. And there's no such thing as closure ever from the courts. We're just the courts. Closure has to come from within. People can learn and heal in the process by people stepping up and acknowledging their participation. And I think that's what Miss Whitehead has done here today. The girls were sent to separate prisons again, with Taz being housed in Pulaski and Jazz in Arendelle. So later that year, the woman who raised both the twins and their mother, Della Frazier, spoke with the Rockdale Citizen. Mrs. Frazier illustrated with perspective as Jazz and Taz from the day they were born until the day of their arrest. She said that Nikki had not been ready to be a mother and that she liked to go and stay gone all the time. Mrs. Frazier said that, quote, she got in the wrong lifestyle. She started doing drugs and drinking and got in with the wrong people. She said that the twins had been respectful, smart, and well-behaved as children, and she had put them in extracurricular activities like dancing, music, tennis lessons, and they were honor roll students until their teens. She blamed the change in their behavior on their mother. She said that Nikki left the girls unsupervised and was unreliable as a caregiver. When they were returned to her custody in 2010, Mrs. Frazier said that the girls had begged and pleaded with the judge not to send them back, but the judge had said there would be a 2-week trial. They didn't make it until the end of the trial. After 8 days, they had killed their mother.
Oh my gosh.
8 days. The twins had written letters and journal entries before the murder of how they hated living with their mother. They even warned her that they would kill her when the judge ordered that they had to return to her house. But Nikki Whitehead gave them a chance, and it cost her her life. The twins had continued their education in prison. Jazz was even the valedictorian in her class at Arendelle State Prison, and she said, quote, we are in a place where physical power is completely out of our hands. Having the chance to attain something I long ago deemed impossible was the opportunity of a lifetime. So in most cases where kids kill their parents, there's some kind of history of abuse of some sort, like the Menendez brothers, right? They claimed that they had been sexually abused. The jury didn't believe them. Jazz and Taz had claimed that their mother was abusive on another of occasions, but there's no evidence to suggest she was. And she made mistakes as a mother, but nothing that came close to even warranting the horrific death her children caused. Jazz and Taz still has the support of their grandmother while in prison, and they will be eligible in parole in 2040.
How old will they be? Do you know?
They were born in 93, 47.
Wow. Wonder if they'll get it.
I don't know. It seems like Jazz is doing whatever she can. I mean, valedictorian.
Trying to better herself.
She's bettering herself, it seems. I mean...
Was she the lovable one?
She was the lovable one. Taz was the outgoing one.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wow.
So and from all accounts, Nikki was, I mean, she was a party girl, but that, having a child at 17 and then having somebody else raise your child, you would think that.
But she went back and she tried to make it okay.
She tried.
Like, you know,
she tried.
She grew up too.
She tried to make it better. Once she moved to Conyers, Georgia, and once the twins came, she even went back to school. Mm-hmm. She took some classes for fashion, I think. I mean, she was trying to better herself.
Right.
I don't, whatever it was, she didn't deserve what happened at all.
Absolutely not.
And it just, I can't.
I mean, it happens a lot that people have babies way too young and they're goofy and immature and then they kind of grow up together.
Right.
It seems like that's what was happening.
I don't know. I can't imagine having one difficult child and then have it copied to another difficult child the same age. I mean, I'm pretty lucky. My girls they're good kids. They make mistakes. They mess up like any other teenager, but they're not hard to handle. Does that make sense? At least now. They're 13 and 15. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And God, I hope that doesn't change, but I couldn't imagine.
Mm-mm. Well, and that's what I said. Like, they're underage, so you can't say, go ahead and do what you want, and it's heartbreaking.
Well, it got to the point where the grandmother didn't want them anymore, so they went to court, and Grandma was like, I can't handle them. And Nikki knew she couldn't handle them either, but at least she tried.
Yeah, she was younger.
That was the whole 2-week trial.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she tried to take responsibility. But the girls just weren't having it.
who's to say, you know, if they go away to like a reform school or some military boot camp kind of thing, they could end up worse. I don't know.
And how much anger did they have to do? I mean, granted, there's 2 girls that was stabbed Nikki was stabbed 50 times, at least 25 times a piece. I mean, that's,
I know.
if not one of the girls did it all themselves. Like Jazz said that she just cut her. She didn't actually stab into her. That's a lot. And that's not easy either. Not that I know from personal experience, but that's what I've been told. That It's not easy to stab somebody.
That's not. It's a lot harder than you think. Physically, it is harder.
But it's shocking.
It is shocking.
Just shocking. And another one of the shows, I think it was the Evil Twins show, Uncle was on, and he got really mad at them at their mother's funeral because the girls had her boyfriends there. They had their boyfriends at the funeral, and they were giggling and laughing and carrying on and making a huge fuss. And the uncle said you confronted them, and it was a big scene at the funeral.
Well, that should have been a red flag right there.
And when they were being questioned, while the police were questioning them, I think it was Taz realized that they were on camera. She noticed the camera, and if you watch the video, you can see her look at the camera, and then the whole thing starts to change, and that's when the girls start wailing and saying, "I want my mommy. I want grandma." They weren't fooling anybody.
Yeah, thank goodness. I mean, I don't know. Who's to say if you could brutally kill your mother, they probably going to kill somebody else anyway. You know, something was going to happen. Something. Yeah.
I don't know. It's
that
just
was
all
good,
very
Jen.
scared and needless.
Poor thing. Now they're paying for it, you know?
Well, good. They should. Very much so.
I agree.
So anyway, what else? Anything going on with you? Watched anything?
Of course I watch stuff, Jen. Duh. Yeah, I watch a lot of stuff. But no murder stuff. No murder stuff. I watched a movie this morning called The Rental with Lip from Shameless, whom I love. And
yeah, he's cute.
Was it Matthew, the Downton Abbey cutie pie? What was his name? Dan Stevenson is his name, but he was in it. So Lip and Dan Stevenson were in the, it's a little thriller. It's pretty interesting. And yesterday I watched a movie called Red Rocket, and this will be a blast from the past. Do you remember Simon Rex from the MTV days? Remember Simon Rex? Do you remember him?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, he was a little cutie. He was the poor man's Rob Lowe. That's what he always reminded me of, but super cute. Well, it was a movie with him, and you know what? He really did a good job. By the director of Tangerine, as well as Florida Project, if you know which was just a phenomenal movie. And he plays a porn star who's not, it's kind of dumb, but I don't know. So it's called Red Rocket. It's on, I think, Netflix or Amazon. I can't remember, but yeah. So yeah, So it's
good.
Yeah. So yeah, what about you? What have you been doing?
I haven't. Laundry. That's all it seems that I've been doing is laundry.
More than me, my friend. More than me.
I know. That stuff never ends at all. Never, ever ends.
I wish we had like a little bodysuit that we could wear underneath our clothes that would protect our clothes so you don't have to wash them.
Well, you could. I mean, there's
weird.
Nothing that's stopping you.
Yeah.
But you'd still have to wash the bodysuit.
Yeah, but that'd only be one thing. See? One thing. You know, it'd be made of a special material so that you could just wear the same one over and over. Don't get me started. To live in my mind is something. Let's put it that way.
Well, every time that I do laundry, I always curse Eve for eating that apple. Because if it wasn't for her, we'd be totally glorious and nude. And yeah.
You could be if you wanted to. You could go to a nudist colony.
Yeah. Nobody needs to see that.
Well,
let's just put it that way. Nobody.
Yeah. On that note, I guess we'll let you go. But
actually, we do have a trailer today.
Oh, see, normally they ask you today. I forgot.
I know. We do have a trailer today. It's from our very, very good, sweet friends. We love them so. Trevin and Amanda from Seriously Sinister. They have a brand new promo that we want to share with you. They do petty crime. They're very witty, very fun. And I'm telling you, we met them at the True Crime Podcast Festival last year in Kansas City, which is going to be going on again this year. But anyway, we met Amanda and Trevin, and loved them from the start. They're great. So you need to watch them. You need to listen to their podcast, subscribe, and all that good stuff.
Below.
You'll love them, I promise.
Yeah. Yay!
And speaking of True Crime Podcast Festival, it is happening again this year in August 26th, 7th, and 8th, somewhere around there. You can go to truecrimepodcastfestival.com and buy your tickets. It's a lot of fun. We will be there. We want you to come and see us. Swing by our table. We'd love to meet you.
We would, for real. And you can get some swag, which is swag from everybody. So that's always fun.
Oh, yeah. There's some good podcasts that are going to be there, and more keep adding, or more is added all the time. So at least go to the website and see who else you love besides us, and which we're very thankful for.
Thank you.
So anyway, that's all else I have.
All right. Hey,
that's all else I have. What kind of grammar is that? Obviously, I don't have grammar.
You're pretty, Jan. You're pretty.
Some days.
Until next time, remember, lock your door.
And keep passing by those open windows.
Bye-bye.
Love ya. Today's episode was researched and written by me, Jen. For more information about this episode, as well as all other sources, please check out our show notes or the podcast website at ourtruecrimepodcast.com. Our True Crime Podcast is developed and created by the hosts, Jen and Cam. Original music and audio mix of all our True Crime Podcast episodes is courtesy of Nico Vertese from We Talk of Dreams. You can reach Nico at wetalkofdreams.com. Listener discretion is provided by Edward October from OctoberPod VHS. You can find all of his great works on YouTube. Please make sure to like and subscribe to our True Crime Podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. We can be reached on Instagram and Facebook at Our True Crime Podcast, or on Twitter with the handle at Our True Crime Pod. You can also email us at ourtruecrimepodcast@gmail.com. We would also at this time like to thank our patrons. We would be so lost without you. Thank you so much. And if you would like to help support the show, you can check us out on patreon.com/Our True Crime Podcast. You can also show your support by leaving a 5-star review on Apple, or simply just tell your friends about us. It's that easy. Love ya.
He frantically looked around the back seat for something to soak up the 2 beers he had consumed earlier that evening, but found nothing. That is when a second idea formed in David's mind. He quickly and aggressively ripped out the crotch of his underwear and shoved the cloth deep into his mouth. As he began to chew, he felt a huge sense of defeat. There was no way he would be able to stomach that butt cloth he had partied in all.
Didn't that story just shake you to the core?
Would you like to hear more?
Then you've come to the right place. I'm Trevin.
And I'm Amanda.
And we're the hosts of Seriously Sinister, a true petty crime podcast.
Each week, we take a dramatic dive into real-life petty crimes.
They may make you laugh or cry, but they won't be like any other true crime stories you've heard.
Follow Seriously Sinister wherever you listen to your podcasts.